All right, I've got Dak here with Renoise, and could you tell us a little bit about Renoise and give us some information on trackers and help people understand what's going on?
Sure. Renoise is a contemporary composing program, let's call it, and it's based around the principles of a tracker. A tracker basically turns your computer into an instrument. So instead of putting knobs on the screen and pretending that it's like something that it's not, it just represents the data alphanumerically, and it comes from a lineage all the way back, it goes all the way back to the Amiga. So when you go to the computer and people are more and more familiar with the computer, 10, 20 years ago, you're like, computer, what's that? Now people are more familiar with the computer. Trackers are coming back because people realize, oh, the computer can be an instrument, and how do you best utilize that instrument in a way that's natural to the computer, and trackers are a perfect paradigm for that fit. So when you look at a tracker, it looks alien at first, like, well, this is scary, but then you accept that you're using a computer and you learn a few things, you start to be very creative. It's like a paper. You're given a paper, oh, I can rip this paper, oh, I can fold this paper, oh, I can draw on the paper. Renoise is a blank slate. It's not something that's packaged and given to you and say, this is what it is. It's like, here's your paper, be creative. And we have a lot of users using this thing like in unbelievable ways that even we can't predict, because it's such a different way of composing on a computer compared to the mainstream sequencers.
And what about the new Renoise? Like, how does it work? What's the interface like?
Well, the new Renoise is still in beta, so it's not officially launched yet, but it's out there. And one of the main advantages to it is something called the pattern matrix, which what it does is it represents the alphanumeric data, which is traditional to the tracker, in a more blocky format. So Renoise is good for composing from the bottom up, so that's like working really close to the canvas. But when you want to pull away from the canvas, that's been a historical problem of Renoise, and we've solved this problem in an interesting way for the new beta that's coming out as a final release very soon, which is a blocky matrix, and then you can move blocks around. It looks kind of like a Novation, like the pad,
the launch pad,
exactly, and a mono. Okay. So these kind of things map together visually very coherently, and some of our users kind of hacked. And if you Google, if you're just going on CDM, you'll find in the archives that our users are just, oh, I'll use this, and they hack stuff together without us even knowing. They post it, and it's like, whoa, awesome. But people use Renoise in a very freestyle way, let's say, and it maps very well to a lot of these new grid-like paradigms.
Could you tell us a little bit about the on-screen interface?
Yes, the on-screen interface we have here is Renoise 2.1, the current stable version, and then this is a tracker in general. We have a song loaded here, and we'll just loop. So this is what scares people at first. They're like, whoa, what is this? I don't understand. But it's quite simple. It's basically like sheet music, but represented in alphanumerically instead of with musical notation. Each code represents a note, and then an instrument, or a clip, or whatever you want to do. Like, that's what Renoise is. This could be a sample, so you could be manipulating a sample. It could be a VST Linux plugin, so it could be an instrument. It could be whatever you want it to be. So these little digits trigger instruments in your sample bank, so your palette, and then they run in tracks. So if we run through this thing, you see, I've got a synth here, I've got a beat on the snap slap. 1, so I've got a C4 triggering 0, 1, I can go into this sample editor, and then it's triggering, so boom. So it's basically a way of like building a song in a very, very close to the canvas-like mythology. The first thing people get freaked out at is like, this doesn't look like anything they know. Unless they know trackers, then they're like, oh, I'm at home, this is perfect. So it depends where you come from and where you come from in computer music. Don't be scared of this interface. Some people just use it to make loops, export, and use it in other programs to do mastering. So you're not forced to do everything in Renoise. That's not the Renoise way. We're really open to integration. In fact, our next version will have scripting and OSC support, which we're working on later this year. So these are the kind of approaches we're interested in. So a lot of people compose full songs in Renoise, don't get me wrong, but we're not selling this as something you do something with. It's basically your computer as a music tool. You do what you want with it.
Very good. Well, Dak, I greatly appreciate you giving the information, and have a great NAMM.
Thanks. Nice meeting you. Take it easy.